to feel the wind in my face and to breathe in that fresh air. It's an indescribable feeling.
Walking on the same land that the Inuit have walked on and lived off of, being here, I'm feeling really connected.
Everywhere I go, I hear people speak Inuktitut and French, and I hear so many different languages, and it's like amazing to see that there's so many people like from different backgrounds in one place, like connecting with each other.
It's unlike anything else I've ever felt before.
The Students on Ice 2018 Arctic expedition began with 4 really successful and exciting days in Ottawa, Canada. It was including the Servitude program for all of the northern youth that come in a bit early. Then the rest of the students come from all over the world. You could feel the team spirit really building and the excitement for the journey ahead growing. And it finally came time to hop on our planes and head north to Greenland. Attention for a second, we're soon going to be beginning the descent to Greenland. Make sure you're looking out your windows. You'll start to see land and ice. When we finally arrived and touched down in KANGERLUSSUATSIQ, Greenland, the real expedition began.
Never been on a Zodiac, and it looks pretty safe, so I'm excited.
We're using them to board the Ocean Endeavor, right there.
The students started to get to know their new home, our floating classroom.
The ship is amazing.
It's breathtaking. I'm so happy. I'm speechless.
I'm freezing! We set sail that night down Sonderstrom Fjord, the longest fjord in the world, above the Arctic Circle, and went to our first destination, the Fjord of Eternity, or FJORD.
Our first Zodiac cruise was amazing.
I have no words.
We went to see a glacier, the face of it was like falling down.
I was just astounded to learn how old the glaciers are, you know, and then when you see a piece break, you're seeing the ice for the first time and no one else has seen that.
We heard all the birds sitting on the cliffs nesting, and we heard the ice crackling in the water, and that just reminded me of how beautiful our nature is and how lucky we are to be here.
We had about 9 different workshops ranging from botany to oceanography, fishing, hiking.
Learning about the scientific knowledge and the Indigenous knowledge and connecting all of those together, it's enriched my life already, I guess.
I have a whole bunch of different types of Arctic species. This sort of lichen species here, they put on top of cuts to protect them.
Everything just has so many different textures, the gooey algae, the wet, thick mud. It's just so amazing to feel. You really feel the connection with the earth and you feel its energy, and it's just so alive.
It's made out of snow. Never seen snow before.
In our country, we just see this in the refrigerator only.
It's the first time I've seen icebergs.
ILULISSAT is home to the World Heritage Site The Jakobs have an ice fjord, really the iceberg factory of the Eastern Arctic. It was so productive that we actually wound up not being able to go ashore in ILULISSAT.
As you can see, there's a very dense pack of ice between us and ILULISSAT, which is making it challenging to get in close.
What we'll do is get out in the Zodiacs and go Zodiac cruising amongst the icebergs. Yeah.
Incredible. That's magnificent.
Greenland is kind of like the ground zero for climate change in a way. And over the last 10 or 20 years, that things are happening much faster than we thought they would.
Eventually, this iceberg factory will stop producing icebergs.
ILULISSAT, it's moving at something like 17 kilometers a year out to the sea. This is where it's all happening, the big sea level change for the next several decades.
Now I am realizing how important the Arctic is to maintaining the climate and the ecosystems throughout the rest of the world.
One of the big lessons we're trying to teach students is that flexibility is the key. And they really started to get a sense of that when we tried to get to ILULISSAT, Greenland. And we had to change our plans. And that meant going to the village of QEQERTARSUAQ, about 50 miles away on Disco Island. We wound up having a soccer game with the local team on the most beautiful soccer pitch, I think, in the world.
Competimos con el equipo de Groenlandia al lado de los grandes icebergs. No tengo palabras para describir este sentimiento.
I'm from San Francisco, so this whole landscape is just, crazy to me. Totally unfamiliar, but it's incredibly beautiful.
C'est juste tellement beau. D'avoir ça comme en face d'un village, j'aimerais vraiment ça habiter ici.
It turned out there was a music festival. Chelsea and Yayi, the twin flames, performed at the festival.
Nuan naqtarujussuvaq taamanna tikittoqartoq aamma iluaq nunarsuaqatingut imalla aamma ilisimanerulerpangut.
I'm feeling incredible. We just hiked from the bottom of the town all the way up here and arrived at this view, and it's pretty awe-inspiring.
I haven't seen a place like this before where you can see 65 million year old young rocks, but you come all the way across the fjord and suddenly you're in this 1.8 million year old package of gneisses.
There was a guy and we were trying to speak Inuktitut to him and he was speaking to us in Greenlandic and we didn't understand each other, but he brought me all the way up to this door. It was cool.
Upon arrival to Canada, we also found some tricky ice conditions awaiting us at Pond Inlet. We made the decision to head directly to the incredible TEILLEQ National Park. As we cruised along, we encountered one of our first polar bears and had a really awesome experience in viewing of that bear on shore.
I never saw a wild polar bear before. It's my first time.
When we arrived, again, ice conditions along the shore prevented us from getting in the Zodiacs to go for a visit. However, we were able to bring on board our Parks Canada friends, as well as community members and elders from Pond, who shared everything from seal skinning and throat singing, drum dancing, and Inuit games with us, as well as some pretty amazing stories about life here in the Arctic.
Sharing the language and culture to other people, to me, is important because, we're in this world together and it's important to know there are people who live up here. it's not completely barren. There's vibrant life in the Arctic.
Performances, songs, dancing, drumming, and the Twin Flames got up and put on a really special performance.
So we're gonna do a series of measurements. We have a few instruments.
J'en ai appris beaucoup sur les océans, comment les comprendre et comment les préserver, surtout au niveau de la pollution plastique, mais aussi au niveau de la surpêche et de l'acidification.
Whether you live on the ocean and you're from a coastal community, or whether you've never seen the ocean before until this journey, each one of us is connected to the ocean.
We rely on the oceans to support the economy, to support life, essentially.
We're on a beach in Nunavut. Our workshop here is fishing.
As a teacher on Students on Ice, it's been an amazing experience because I'm actually reconnecting with my roots. Learning how to be a teacher where my ancestors were.
Grateful to be. I am joyous and free.
Part of what we do here on Students on Ice is making visible the truths that have been hidden from us in our stories and our history and the education system. And we have an opportunity for young people to understand the truth from the perspective of Inuit. And some of that history is shared with First Nations and Métis people in the South.
Truth and reconciliation is like a huge topic, but once you actually start to unravel it, it actually does make a lot of sense, and it really does make a difference.
We can all find our way into the conversation about reconciliation because it's a responsibility for us to take care of each other.
Bridging the income gap between rich and poor.
Having every child to get at least 12 years of education.
Making cities a better place to live and safer and affordable for everyone.
The Sustainable Development Goals are a series of 17 goals that were committed by all countries of the world in 2015. And basically it sets forward the agenda for the next 15 years to transform the world.
I got the Life Below Water SDG, which is all about creating a better, sustainable environment for the creatures that live below the water.
We've got all this energy and creativity of these young people, and so I do think the SDGs can be an important tool in the education system and elsewhere to help inspire young people to make change in the world.
I'm optimistic that we can make change. It's really important that as Students on Ice, we remain connected and we can take what we've learned here, once-in-a-life opportunity, once-in-a-life learning, and really go from there. And I believe if we do, and we engage the youth, that we can make change more than just saying we want to make change, that we really can do it.
Everyone who goes away from this trip has now a responsibility to advocate for the conservation and mitigation and sustainable development.
I've really been learning about how everything on this planet is interconnected, and the people that live in the Arctic are a really good example of that because they've spent their whole lives living off of the land. Any changes to their environment, that'll change the way their lives are.
Knowledge coming from Inuit or other Indigenous groups is just as important as what you find in textbooks. They're the ones that know the patterns, the changes, and what the land is like.
There's just no other way to get a sense for the history, the people, the life that is in this area than to actually be on it and be within it.
We're here, we're standing on it, we're smelling it, we're tasting it, having tea and bannock, and all of the senses are covered in making those connections. And that's an opportunity that is so rare and what makes this experience so special.
Some of the knowledge that you can really only get by being here in the Arctic and here on a floating classroom like Students on Ice is an appreciation for the role that Mother Nature plays. And this year, ice certainly was a big factor. It made us to change our plans. We had to abort some landings, go to new places. We even finished in a whole different place than we thought we were going to. We don't control nature. Ice is important. It's a habitat that's critical to the Arctic. I think that will be a big takeaway for the students this year.
We're walking on the glacier. It's so old, you know, and I feel so small. I feel like, you know, I have to protect all of this. But it's not the end. It's just the beginning.